This Spoilercast for Kingdom Hearts 3 is brought to you by Amazon. Check the description box for our affiliate link and be sure to use that whenever you make a purchase through Amazon to directly support Level Down Games. To hear the Max Level podcast in its entirety every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, please subscribe on iTunes or your favorite podcast app of choice. Be sure to click that subscribe button, hit the like, turn notifications on, and drop a comment down below. If you clicked on this by mistake, be warned that everything you hear going forward is spoiler territory for Kingdom Hearts 3. You have been warned. Welcome to the very first ever spoiler cast that we're doing here at Level Down Games. We've never done this before. It's something that a lot of other outlets and a lot of other, shows do, but we've never kind of dipped our toes into those waters. But Frank and I both just finished Kingdom Hearts 3, and we have a lot of things that we'd like to talk about that we really couldn't say during the Max Level podcast. So if you're hearing this for the first time on YouTube, you have no idea who we are. You have no idea what Level Down Games is or Max Level. We do a weekly video game podcast called the Max Level Podcast. It posts every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Pacific, where we just talk general things video game related. And leveldowngames.com is a media outlet where we cover games, we review games, we have a lot of fun. It's fun. I don't know. Best thing to say. And Frank and I are both from that website and that podcast. So we are now going to talk Kingdom Hearts 3. But before we do, special shout out to Dance with the Dead for allowing us to use their music for our videos. Everyone absolutely needs to go check these guys out and support their music. They can be found on Bandcamp, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, pretty much everywhere. Check them out. You will not be disappointed. The official music of Level Down Games. I like saying that, dude. I like saying that they are the official music of Level Down Games.
It is cool. It's cool they do that for us. So yeah, I beat this game, I want to say about half an hour ago, but officially saw the ending of it about 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, so the funny thing is we're recording this at night, Sunday. It's February 10th. It's 9:30 p.m. Eastern time. And I finished it, I want to say it was like 7:30ish when I officially saw everything. Like, the credits were done, the ending movies were done. I was done. You still had a little bit to go. It was crazy how close we actually finished this game. And I actually didn't think we would finish it literally within 2 hours of one another. That's actually crazy how that actually worked out. So I wanted to do this tonight. I didn't want to wait because I wanted to, first of all, get our raw reactions because I didn't want to have a chance to look too many things up because I wanted everything that we say here to be our own thoughts and just everything that we felt while playing through the game and where we think things are going and what we think things might potentially mean. So I want to start off with a summary, so to speak, of everything that happened from the beginning of Kingdom Hearts 3 up till the end. And
a long, long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. No, wait.
Well, it's actually not that far off.
Actually, you know what? It's actually true.
I was going to say that's actually not that far off because what I wrote down here, and I did take, because I had a couple hours to work with, I had like 2 hours-ish to work with in between the time I finished it and the time you finished it. I put together some notes and some thoughts and some ideas we could kind of go off of. So I want to start again with a bare bones basic explanation of what is truly occurring during the events of Kingdom Hearts 3. So long ago, in a galaxy far, far away, but not really, a battle between light and dark fractured the world. In the opening scenes of Kingdom Hearts 3, we see two mysterious young boys playing a game of chess. One of them clearly resembles the light, and one of them clearly resembles darkness. Fast forward a little while, an evil wizard by the name of Xehanort is hell-bent on recreating the ancient battle from long ago, which is known as the Keyblade War, in an attempt to forge the Keyblade, which is in the game symbolized as X-Blade, but it actually is pronounced Keyblade, and gain access to Kingdom Hearts. Throughout the previous games, and now this one, we've seen the adventures of Sora, Donald Duck, Goofy, King Mickey, Riku, Kairi, Aqua, Ventus, Terra, Axel, Roxas, and Xion all band together under this umbrella known as the Guardians of Light. Their purpose is to take down Xehanort and his 12 allies known as Organization 13. When we reach the final moments of the game, Xehanort is successful in gaining access to Kingdom Hearts by murdering Kairi to gain the 13th key, but only briefly, as Sora and his friends are able to lock it away. It's then revealed that the mysterious boys we saw at the beginning of the game are Master Ericus from Birth by Sleep as the light representation, and who has been hiding away inside Terra's body since the end of that game, and Xehanort as the darkness representation. So the chess game that they were playing as children is basically the entire plot of the Kingdom Hearts franchise up to this point in time. I don't know if you picked up on that.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to miss that. Oh my God, this whole series was two dudes playing chess.
Yeah, but a long ass time ago. So they were able to see that what was basically going to happen.
I can only imagine the adventures that people are going to have for my 5th grade chess club that I was in. Did
you win or did you lose?
Oh, I was terrible.
So it's going to be bad adventures.
Well, I think the darkness is going to win this one.
Yeah. And we'll actually talk about that here shortly, because another chess game may be really what sets events moving forward for the Kingdom Hearts franchise. That it kind of showed it right before a movie we're going to talk about here in a little bit. So do we really want to talk anything that happened throughout the game? Like, do we want to touch on anything? Like, or do you want to mention anything, or do you want to really dive too deep into certain things that we saw throughout the game before the ending?
I mean, it was your standard fare for the most part, where, you know, it was all Sora just becoming powerful again. Right.
Regaining not regaining, but reawakening the power of waking to restore the hearts and try to fix everything, so to speak.
Yeah, it kind of like remembering, you know, it's love, it's friendship, all these things are important. But a lot of heavy hitters came towards the end of the game. I mean, there was things that happened towards the end that I legitimately, and I don't do this very often, I wept.
Yeah, you know, I absolutely did as well. And this is something that I mentioned in the podcast. I mentioned that I didn't agree with some of the pacing of the game. I thought that a few of the things that we saw at the end could have been sprinkled throughout to kind of just give us a little bit to keep going, because in between the Disney worlds, like you would do the exploration, you would do everything, and you would finish the world completely, and then you'd immediately move on to another Disney world, and there wouldn't be a lot of stuff in between that was related to the narrative of like Kingdom Hearts, what we were trying to do. They kind of stuck all that at the very end. Now that I finished the game and I've seen everything, I'm okay with it, but I would have liked to have had some of that sprinkled in between.
But yeah, I mean, all these like things towards the end, I think we're made more powerful by the fact that we've been fans of the series from the very beginning. We've played most of the games in between. I think I missed one or two of them.
I've played them all except for the mobile one, but I watched the movie that was based on the mobile game.
I did catch myself up on everything before even getting close to the ending, because I wanted to make sure that if anything came out of left field, I could be like, okay, I vaguely remember that.
Right.
But again, this is a spoiler cast, so I could say it. When Roxas came back,
it was great. So good.
And Xion was there. Man, that right there in the feels. That got me.
Yeah. So, you know, up through for the longest time playing through this, and just specifically Kingdom Hearts 3, they didn't reveal to us that Xion was one of the Organization 13 members. Like, there was a couple of them that they kept hidden, that they, you know, we maybe had some assumptions or maybe thought that that's who they were, that kind of stuff, but they didn't reveal some of these people to us. So when we got to this point in this labyrinth in the Keyblade graveyard, I kept messaging you throughout going, because I was a little bit ahead of you, and I kept saying, dude, this part is so sad. And it is, because you are one by one taking down every single member of Organization 13. So you go into these battles and you're fighting more than one each time. Like, you're fighting 2, sometimes 3 of the members of Organization 13, but they all have separate health pools. And as you take them each down, they all have their own like conclusion and goodbye scene, which was really sad. And some of them more sad than others, because like they definitely felt more human. They felt more emotion. The girl, the blonde haired girl whose name is slipping me as we record this, the one that kind of looked like a Who from Dr. Seuss because of the way that her hair is. But she was the one that I saved hers for last in that fight, because I liked her as a character. And her ending had that smart ass feel to it, which is what her character was. But I just wanted there to be some type of more emotion to that one that there really wasn't there.
She seemed to have no redemption. But
what she said is intriguing that I want to touch on for a second. She said she was just along for the ride and that she was joining somebody. Who is she joining? Who is she there with?
Marluxia.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
But the official term was recomplete, is what I think we did for all of them, though.
Yes, we recomplete them. And because we found out that they were all people that were able to time travel to this point in time and enter these bodies, these replicas, they weren't actually there. Like, we were restoring them, so to speak. Like, we were sending them back to their time, because a lot of these ones that said goodbye to Sora, the guy with the cards, where I was like, hey, maybe we can play when we're both just people again and we're both just guys. I thought that was cool because, they're not evil. They were evil because they were under the influence of Xehanort. They were under the influence of Organization 13 and all this evil doing, but the people themselves were not evil. They were just doing what they were told, or like the girl, just along for the ride.
I mean, like the ending of this game, it even kind of sense like maybe Xehanort wasn't really, he was evil, but he wasn't evil. Like he was going about doing the right thing the wrong way. Right.
Okay. So let's take that point and let's kind of now talk about the ending of Kingdom Hearts 3. So we're going to skip now to the very end. So Xehanort, after you defeat him, like, you get up to the point where he murders Kairi and he restores Kingdom Hearts, but again, just briefly, because you're able to stop him. You go through these couple epic boss fights where you're fighting all these different, I want to say they're different versions of Xehanort under a mask, but that's kind of what they alluded to a little bit.
They said that they were all his different like time travel-y versions.
Yeah, and then they all form into him as a person, and then you fight him again, and then you fight him again. So it's basically like 3 fights there, and usually that's how these JRPGs work. Is usually the end fights are always 3 phases. Even some Nintendo games do that too.
I even messaged Brian. I beat him, and I was like. And then I see like they show the roof of a building. I'm like, of course the final battle happens on the roof. What was I thinking? I thought it was done. I thought it was done right there.
Yeah, no, it's got to be the roof, man. So after you defeat him all 3 times, Xehanort fully yields, and he sees the power of the light and entrusts the Keyblade to Sora and his friends. Later in the Keyblade graveyard, Sora makes a bold decision to strike out on his own and go after Kairi, who is the main casualty of the battle. Aqua, Ventus, and Terra mourn Ericus' passing once more at the place where they trained under him, the Land of Departure. Ventus sees his Chithari, the one that spoke to Sora in the afterlife, the one that is a cat. So that's a Chithari, and Ventus was able to see him. So because of that, Ventus was actually a member of the Dandelions, a special Keyblade union from a previous era meant to travel to a separate timeline to protect the light after the first Keyblade War. So each person that did that, each cross-era Keyblade wielder received a Chithari to go alongside them. So that's kind of interesting because this really confirms that this Ventus that we're seeing now and this Ventus that we saw in Birth by Sleep is the same Ventus from that timeline way back in the day that was a cross-era Keyblade wielder. So he's somehow tied up in this time travel. I don't even know, man. It's really weird because they kind of alluded to that it might be the same person. But when we saw the Chithari in the final world, what was kind of like a representation of heaven, we didn't really know that was Ventus's Chithari. But now we do. It's legitimately the same one. So I actually thought that was really interesting, and I picked up on that. We then see Riku visiting Radiant Garden, and he meets up with Naminé, who was reawakened by the scientists using one of the spare vessels obtained during the labyrinth in the Keyblade graveyard. So the replica that they used to reawaken Naminé was Dark Riku's replica, so to speak.
Yes.
There was like 3 versions of Riku. So we had regular Riku, we had Dark Riku, who was part of Organization 13 now, and we had Dark Riku that's seen the light, I guess, so to speak, who was inside of normal Riku.
I mean, technically you have Xemnas, who was Riku's.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's lots of Riku's for days.
Yeah. And Ansem, because there at the end, when after you defeat Ansem, Riku even comes up. He's like, I think I'm actually going to miss you, because they had so many journeys together while Riku was actually part of Organization 13. But yeah, so you defeat Dark Riku in the labyrinth, and the Dark Riku that was seen by the light rushes into that Dark Riku that you just defeated, pulls out the soul, so to speak, and then the body just kind of collapses as like a mannequin. That's what a replica basically is. It's like a lifeless soul or a lifeless vessel is what they kept calling them. So that's the one that they took back to the scientists, and they were able to restore Naminé. So it's actually really cool seeing her. I'm sad that literally all we saw of her was in the final cutscenes. That is something that definitely bugs me, because I wanted to see more of her. I wanted to see more of Shion as well.
Well, we heard Naminé up in heaven.
Right. I actually have something on that.
There's something happened up there too that's been kind of weighing on me since I beat the game.
Yeah, I have something on that we'll talk about here shortly. So that'll be interesting.
Okay.
Little bit of teaser, little teaser. But yeah, so then we cut to another ending video. And in this one, all the members of the main cast, like everyone that I already mentioned, Donald, Goofy, Aqua, Ventus, Terra, Naminé, Xion, Roxas, Axel, Mickey, Kyrie even, they're all there. And they're on Destiny Islands. But speaking of Kyrie, it kind of cuts over to the tree that the famous tree with the fruit on it. And we see Sora and Kyrie sitting there. And they're holding hands, so to speak. But then a tear rolls down her cheek, and Sora starts to do that famous thing that Square Enix loves to put in their JRPGs, where the main character slowly just fizzles away. It disappears because he was just kind of like a memory, so to speak. He's not actually there. It's just Kyrie sitting on that tree. Everyone else is over there having fun, kind of just, enjoying themselves because technically the battle is over for them. Yeah. Technically it's over. Organization 13 is done, dude. Organization 13 is wiped out. Organization 13 is no more, which is, I think, is really interesting that we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. Organization 13 is done. But so they're just kind of living life and enjoying themselves because their battle is done. Kyrie is upset, obviously, because kind of like how they alluded to that Riku and Naminé were kind of like a thing. Clearly, Sora and Kyrie were alluded to be kind of like a thing.
Of course.
And she's sitting there sad because he's not there. He made the decision at the end to go and rescue her. Clearly, he was successful at rescuing her. They didn't say how, but he was clearly successful in rescuing her. But in doing so, something happened to him that we're going to talk about here in a minute. So that's the actual end of the game. That's the complete end of the game. That's where the credits start rolling.
During the credits, there was an awesome moment. I mean, I don't know if you watched the little videos we're going.
Yeah, I usually read the names, but I was only watching the stuff on the side.
They had Axel and Roxas up there, and then Xion joins them, and then whatever his new name is, I think Eon, the blue hair.
Issa.
I'm sorry, Issa. They're all eating ice cream, and then out comes Hayner and Pence and all of them.
Yeah, Hayner, Pence, Alette. Hayner, Pence, and Alette walk out.
I wish I heard her name. I'm like, it was such a sweet moment. I was like, oh man, they finally got the reunion. Like,
yeah, all 7 of them are sitting there just eating ice cream.
High note.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Like, I love seeing all these things finally tie up. I mean, yeah, other things that happened was Hercules got a statue and stuff like that. Whatever.
Yeah, Elizabeth Swann kind of was like saying goodbye to Will Turner because he has to now serve on the Flying Dutchman for 10 years because of the events that happened, and the Flying Dutchman needs a captain, so. He has to serve on that. So we kind of like saw all these things wrap up. The Big Hero 6 crew were kind of like cleaning up a mess on a highway that looked like it had just happened. What did we see? What else did we see in that? The Frozen cast, they were kind of just like, yeah, they were just having fun, messing around, putting Olaf back together again.
Rapunzel
and Eugene, they were enjoying the life, and we saw the horse there. It was cool. It was kind of nice seeing how each individual storyline arc within the Disney world is also wrapped up, because we didn't get to see that. Like, that was something that we actually didn't see before the credits started rolling. It was kind of like after the credits type stuff, which was interesting. But then we come to the big stuff that I want to talk about here. That's going to really kind of just lead this discussion forward for the next few minutes. So let's really touch on the first after credits movie, the one that is not secret. Everybody is going to see this one. To truly understand what we are going to be seeing in this movie, though, immediately after the credits stop rolling, I highly recommend watching the Kingdom Hearts Cross back cover movie. This is a companion film that was released to be kind of go alongside the mobile game Kingdom Hearts Union Cross. It's actually available on PS4 in the Kingdom Hearts 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue disc. It's about a 2-hour movie. I watched it some point last year in 2018 so that I would have some familiarity with the game, because I knew it was going to be important to Kingdom Hearts 3. I didn't know it was going to be this important, though. But before we actually jump to the scene itself, this is where I want to talk about that stuff that happened in the final world, because I think it plays a little bit into kind of what we're going to be seeing in this movie. And I think it's one of the more confusing moments in Kingdom Hearts 3. And it's something that confused the hell out of me. And you even were mentioning it to me when you were playing it. You're like, oh, yeah, I talked to the cat. I talked to Naminé and Heaven. I was like, wait a second. Naminé's not there. One of the stars is supposed to represent her because it actually mentions her by name. But then I started thinking, well, are the actual stars meant to represent her as a whole? Like, is everything her? But then I thought, I actually don't think that's the case. So again, you're in this little area, this limbo, the final world, and basically Sora is piecing himself back together to have one more shot at saving the day, saving the universe. And you're interacting with these little stars, revealing thoughts of those stuck in the final world, quote unquote. 2 of those stars actually trigger important cutscenes, with one of them featuring Naminé, as I just said, because you had actually talked about that. The other star goes unnamed, but it references that she is waiting for someone whose heart has been replaced and reveals that she was killed by somebody. Although this is very kind of deep into the Kingdom Hearts lore, I was able to do some research, and people actually believe that this star may represent, and I'm going to butcher this name because I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Strelitzia, the brother of Marluxia's somebody form, his actual form, Laurium. That might be it. I have no idea. But that would be even hinting at really some deep connections being made between the mainline Kingdom Hearts games and the mobile game, because those characters are from Union Cross. So that might be kind of just tying things into more together, because then we get seen, like, we're back in the Keyblade Graveyard. We're actually at the movie that takes place after the credits. That other stuff takes place before, but now we're back. We're after the credits. We're in the Keyblade Graveyard, and we see a hooded figure receive the fallen Xehanort Keyblade, which the actual name of that is No Name, after the event of Kingdom Hearts 3. The figure picks up this Keyblade, basically says, this Keyblade has returned home, so to speak. He's like, I found you, I got you again. And 4 of the foretellers, also known as the Union leaders, again, remember, the mobile game is called Union Cross. So 4 of the foretellers from the ancient era before the Keyblade War appear in front of this mysterious hooded figure. You get some dialogue between them, and then one of them, I forget which one it is, but he asks the hooded figure, "Is that you, Luxu?" Who is another foreteller that was chosen by their collective master, the Master of Masters. These names are just crazy. But anyway, the Master of Masters, to go on a secret mission, taking the Keyblade No Name, again, Xehanort's Keyblade, which contains the Master of Masters' all-seeing eye. And again, this is all laid out for you in that movie. Watch the movie. It will make a lot of sense about what we're seeing here. And Luxu, his calling, so to speak, was to pass down this no-name Keyblade with the all-seeing eye in it down from master to apprentice so that he can see the events of the future. Luxu was also entrusted with a black box, the contents of which we are yet to know. We have no idea what's in this black box.
What's in the box?
Pretty much, yeah. But all of this stuff that we're seeing here, so in that movie, final, or what the hell is it called? I don't even know. Kingdom Hearts Cross back cover. The last scene we see is Luxu walking off with the Xehanort's Keyblade, No Name, and that box, and, Keyblade in one hand, box being dragged behind him in the other, and he's basically walking through the Keyblade Graveyard. So that's the last thing that's how that movie actually ends, which is crazy because it's basically how this scene starts, so to speak. But yeah, so that was just crazy. But anyway, after more dialogue and discussions that we see kind of going between the characters, the hooded Luxu reveals himself to actually be Xigbar, who we thought died during the Skein of Severance dungeon. Again, that's the labyrinth within the Keyblade Graveyard. It's suggested that Luxu has taken many forms across time, but his main form has been Xigbar, who has been lying in wait amongst Xehanort's ranks, a double agent serving the Master of Masters, out to usurp his Keyblade once he falls so that he can become the new ringleader and continue the mission. It seems like that time is now, and it looks like the greater plan the Master of Masters had for Luxu is about to be revealed. We have no idea what that is, though, because Xigbar doesn't really dive into it. That's clearly going to be the plot of the next Kingdom Hearts game.
Has to be.
Yeah. From there, we return to young Ericus and young Xehanort, who are again playing chess. Ericus brings out a new game of chess. He said, "Hey, they finished the old game." He's like, "Hey, I heard of this new game. I was reading something on this new game," and he puts these 7 pieces of darkness on one side of the chessboard. That's kind of like replacing the 13. So clearly they're signifying there that Organization 13 is done. And these 7 new chess pieces of darkness are representing 7 new villains that we're going to be seeing in the future. And pretty much those are symbolic of the foretellers from the epilogue that we saw, the 4 that were there. The missing foreteller Ava, who Luciu / Zigbar actually asks, where's Ava? Did she make it? I told her we would be here, and, she's not there. So Ava is actually missing. So these 7 pieces of chess are those 4, Ava, Zigbar / Luciu, and the Master of Masters.
Did you notice that there's animal faces on all the chess pieces too? So
yes, that literally matched the foretellers. Yes. Yeah. So how the foretellers are is that they wear these masks representing different creatures, so to speak. And every piece of the chess, every dark piece of the chess board had one of those corresponding masks on them. Did the original 13 chess pieces have something like that on the top as well? I don't think that they did.
There was like kings and pawns and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, so it was just more like just along the lines of regular chess. I was actually wondering if they were like numbered, but I don't think that they were. But these ones clearly represent those characters. So on the other side of the board, Ericus places just one piece of light before the epilogue ends. So people are speculating now, is this symbolic of Sora? Is this symbolic of Yozora, which we're going to talk about here in a second? Is this symbolic of somebody totally different? We're not sure, but it's clearly symbolic of the next protagonist that's going to be dealing with these foretellers, whoever that may be, whether it's Sora, whether it's Yozora, whether it's something completely different. And that's kind of where the first movie ends. So the foretellers are clearly going to fall to darkness in some way, like, because they weren't terrible. They weren't bad people. They weren't. They were actually good in the movie. They were good in the mobile game. So something is going to happen to them that makes them fall to the dark side. And then somebody is going to be rising up against them to try to stop whatever they're doing. Now,
will that be the doing of Maleficent and Pete? Because they were watching this whole thing. They did know that Box was going to be there after the Keyblade War. That was heavily mentioned earlier in the thing. He goes, yeah, we're not looking for it now. We're going to get it after the Keyblade War.
Yeah, I guess that should be something that we should mention as well. And I actually kind of forgot about that. I didn't put that in my notes because it was so quick in the movie. But after they talk and like they show the black box, and I think it was right after Luciu asks about Ava, they pan out and they show Maleficent and Pete standing way in the distance, kind of just watching what's going down. And then they just start walking off. And like I said, they said that they would come back later. Luciu / Zigbar clearly knows that they're there because he kind of slyly looks in their direction and just smirks a little bit. So he knows that they're watching him and watching the foretellers, which I guess raises an interesting question that I want to save till after we talk about the next movie.
That's exactly why I brought it up, because what you told me earlier. Okay,
yeah, so. and I didn't think about that. So that actually brings up an interesting question that I actually have now. So let's talk about the secret movie that requires you to find hidden Mickeys throughout Kingdom Hearts 3 to unlock. If you're playing on Proud Mode, you need 30. If you're playing on normal, like Frank and I did, you need 60. If you're playing on easy, you need all 90. I think you and I both still found all 90 on normal. They're not extremely hard to find, as long as you don't even have to be like in depth with your exploration. They're clearly meant to be found.
There's really only like 3 or 4 different kinds of ways you find them. So it was like they're either imprinted in something, the scenery makes them, or like the light might shine on something. So there was nothing too complex when it came to those.
Yeah, and I think maybe throughout all 90, maybe 6 or 7 of them, I really had a tough time finding. One, I literally spent 3 hours searching for it. I literally could not find it. It was the one in the Pirates world that was on the back of the freaking sign next to one of the islands. I could not find that one until I got lucky, was sailing by it in the process of killing 200 ships for that trophy. And Donald's like, oh, there's a lucky emblem nearby, Sora. And I was like, where? Yeah. So I kind of just got lucky with that one. But yeah, most of them it was kind of easy to find, but some of them did take me a while, and which is the reason that my playthrough is so high. You know, I finished the game at level 54, which significantly over leveled for what you need to be, and 62 hours. So, but again, probably 10 or so hours of that was literally looking for like 6 or 7 different hidden Mickeys because I wanted to find them all without a guide. I did, but it was tough. Anyway, talking about the secret movie that you unlock. In this video, a sleeping Sora wakes up in a puddle. We're kind of shown what looks to be very realistic scenery, and it turns out Sora is in Shibuya, Japan, because this is clearly evident because of the famous 109 building that is actually in Shibuya has been changed in the game to 104, which is something that is completely identical to the Shibuya, Japan that exists within The World Ends With You, another JRPG that is owned by Square Enix and whose characters feature heavily in Dream Drop Distance on the 3DS. So The World Ends With You characters are heavily featured in that game, and we've seen this world before. So now this is a very realistic looking version of Shibuya, Japan in Kingdom Hearts. After Sora, we cut to Riku, and we see somebody watching Riku from atop of a tower. And it turns out that it's Yozora, the protagonist of the game Verum Rex, that was teased in the opening movie to the Toy Box world earlier in the game. Again, Verum Rex, if you're not familiar, this is a very fictional in-universe game that takes a lot of inspiration from Final Fantasy Versus 13, the game that would eventually be molded into Final Fantasy 15. Those games are very, very similar. Verum Rex and Final Fantasy Versus 13/15. Specifically, Nomura's vision for Final Fantasy Versus 13 before it was changed into 15 was very different from what we saw with, when Hajime Tabata took over the direction and production of Final Fantasy 15. It became a very different game. Nomura clearly had a vision for Final Fantasy Versus 13 that he wanted to see done. Tetsuya Nomura, still the director and producer of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, is now going to take that vision that he had with Final Fantasy Versus 13 before it became 15 and now implement that into the next Kingdom Hearts game, or whatever game is coming next. If it isn't a Kingdom Hearts game, whatever game is coming next. But I think it definitely is going to be Kingdom Hearts, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I think this is clearly evident that something else is going to be happening here, and that we may be seeing a lot more Final Fantasy universes in the next game, because did you pick up on this? When that movie started, you could clearly hear Somnus, which is a track from the Final Fantasy 15 soundtrack. You
suck. I was going to blow your mind with that.
It was actually, so that is for those that have not played 15, Somnus, there's a instrumental version and there's a vocal version. We've actually played both versions, I believe, on our BG Mania podcast, which is a video game music podcast every Wednesday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Pacific. If you're into video game music, please check that podcast out on your favorite podcast app of choice, because we have a lot of fun doing that. But that is basically the title theme or the title screen music that plays in Final Fantasy 15. Now, it was just like the opening notes. That was it. But I was like, dude, that gave me chills, because that is one of my favorite pieces from that game. And, I was a big fan of Final Fantasy 15. I'm not going to lie. I waited for that game for 10 freaking years. Game was announced in like 2006 and finally came out in 2016. I was waiting for that game forever from when it was Versus 13 and then when it became 15.
It's crazy. They honored your pre-order for those 10 years too.
I didn't have a pre-order. I don't pre-order. But anyway, it was that Somnus theme mixed with Dearly Beloved from the Kingdom Hearts franchise, because it started out as Somnus and then it slowly morphed into Dearly Beloved. What's interesting to note, Yoko Shimomura, composer of both Final Fantasy 15 and Kingdom Hearts franchise. So both her music. She knows what she's doing. We talk about her all the time on BG Mania. I'm in love with her. I think she's amazing. So she clearly was able to take both of those two tracks, which now that I saw what she did, they are very similar tracks. They are. So I kind of like that, knowing that she was able to do that. Anyway, after that happens, we see the Master of Masters on a rooftop making a box and then a heart-shaped gesture with his hands over the moon. Again, they're in Shibuya. So we can kind of guess that, we are guessing that this is the Master of Masters, because everybody else that wore cloaks has revealed themselves now. There's no other cloak wearer in the game besides the Master of Masters. It wasn't a foreteller, because that wasn't a foreteller uniform. That was definitely a black cloak. In the movie, the Master of Masters wears a black cloak. And in the movie and in the mobile game, you never see the Master of Masters' face.
That I didn't pick up on. Okay.
Yeah, so the person that's making the thing on the moon on the rooftop in Shibuya has to be the Master of Masters.
I assumed it was a new bad guy.
Which, again, the Master of Masters is, again, we have those 7 pieces of the darkness on this new chessboard. Luxu / Zigbar has revealed himself already. You know, he revealed himself in the first after credits movie. He doesn't have to be under the cloak anymore. If it was him, I would assume we would have just seen him. So now we are assuming that the Master of Masters is this. Again, it could be someone different, but we are just assuming that it's the Master of Masters. So where does this leave us? What does this mean? Because now we have Kairi, who is fine and she's alive. Did Sora sacrifice himself to save her? Did that sacrifice push him into like the modern world? Is he out? Is he lifted from the Kingdom Hearts universe and then implemented into the modern world? Is he then implemented into a different world? Is he in Verum Rex? Is he in that world now? Where is he? He's somewhere where Shibuya, Japan exists.
Yeah. I have a few theories on that.
Please enlighten me, because I can't wrap my brain around this.
First one is Shibuya somehow existing in Verum Rex. That's the easy way out.
Of course.
That's the okay. My more complex idea was I did hear the Final Fantasy music. And I'm like, well, son of a gun, maybe this is part of Dissidia. Maybe or like it's a world of worlds. Because I don't think they're going to take us straight to they're not going to take us to EOS. It's not going to happen. It could happen. That won't happen. Besides, this is too modern.
I don't think it will, because you look at what EOS is in the Final Fantasy 15 universe, and you know, you have big cities, you have these massive structures, but this is clearly inspired by real architecture, not like fantastical and like these fantasy settings that we saw in 15. This is something literally that you could go to Tokyo or go to Shibuya now and see.
I mean, the other real option is they're on Earth. They're on Earth 616 for my Marvel fans out there. They're on our Earth.
Yeah, 616. What is that?
There's multiple Earths in multiple dimensions. 616 is ours. Actually, I take it back. 616 is their mainline continuity. I think we're a different Earth, but whatever. They're on an Earth, and with Marvel and being Disney, it's a good possibility. I said Disney for a reason there, because you had mentioned to me you thought maybe they're moving away from Disney with this.
Yeah, and I didn't think about the fact that we saw Maleficent and Pete in that movie before we saw this one. I didn't actually even think about that. So clearly, while we may be moving away from a lot of Disney, like, fantasy worlds, we might be moving away from that. Are we moving now into, like, the more modern, realistic Disney worlds?
Are we going to like live action Lion King and live action?
I wouldn't say that. Any Disney world that actually exists in a version of Earth, like the Avengers, like Marvel, like, I guess we could include Hocus Pocus in that list.
Star Wars, Indiana Jones, the whole shebang.
Could we include Star Wars? I guess Earth exists, but did they ever actually go to Earth in Star Wars?
Well, no, but it's a galaxy far, far away.
Sure. Indiana Jones would be interesting. That's on Earth.
Yeah.
But what I think is more to is that, again, whatever's coming next is definitely going to have more to do with Final Fantasy. We didn't see hardly any Final Fantasy stuff in Kingdom Hearts 3. Again, it was pretty much absent, except for the Moogles, some Dissidia like action figures in the toy box world, and a couple references to other things. So that was pretty much all we saw from Final Fantasy.
A big Cactuar sign, and the constellations were all Final Fantasy characters. That was it.
Yeah, they were just more or less subtle nods. We didn't really see anything else. There were no characters, there were no worlds, nothing else besides these subtle nods. So now I really do feel like in whatever is coming next, we are going to be seeing more of the Final Fantasy side of things and less of the Disney. So maybe we will still see a couple Disney worlds, but I think we're going to see more from Final Fantasy. We may see some stuff from like what Nomura had in mind with Final Fantasy Versus 13, which I really do think is just going to be this Verum Rex world. I think that is going to be what his vision was for for Versus 13. And he's going to incorporate that into Verum Rex, which even still has a V in it, just like Versus 13. It's Verum Rex. I mean, it clearly is definitely modeled after that. So we're going to see that world. We might see a couple worlds that, you know, from previous games that already have had characters in the game, maybe 8, maybe 7, maybe 6. So, Frank, you actually took the Verum Rex name and loosely translated it using Google Translate. I mean, this is all we have. We don't speak Latin, but it is Latin. So Verum Rex loosely translates to True King.
The True King of Kingdom Hearts?
True King of Kingdom Hearts. Are we
It's
maybe
maybe Mickey's not actually the king, and we did something bad the whole time? No.
are we potentially seeing something related to Noctis?
Ooh.
Again,
Okay.
going back from Versus 13 became 15, Verum Rex, similar to Versus 13, which again became 15, is Nomura going to somehow try to tie all this stuff together? It's possible.
Okay. I'm down.
True King, Verum Rex, True King. That is interesting. That is definitely interesting.
Or we're crazy and nothing's going to happen with it. The last things we saw, though, was reconnect Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, so after the movie ends, literally the last thing we see, reconnect dot Kingdom Hearts. That's it. That is the last thing that we saw. So what does that mean? What are we reconnecting? Are we reconnecting the worlds of Kingdom Hearts to Final Fantasy to Disney? Is that kind of what they're trying to say? Or are they reconnecting Sora to Kingdom Hearts because Sora's been taken out of the Kingdom Hearts universe and put in this universe now? I'm not sure.
Now, there was a loose end that I don't think I ever got. That I wasn't paying attention. Aren't there 3 hearts inside of Sora's?
Yes, Roxas, Ventus, and Sora.
Oh, Sora is the third.
Sora is, yeah, he has his own heart.
when they say inside your heart, I figured that.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No. I'm pretty sure it was just meant to be Sora, Roxas, and Ventus. But there's one other thing that I think we should loosely touch upon, and that is these secret reports that exist within the game. So again, these secret reports exist. You have to finish the game first, and then these battle gates start showing up in every world. Like there's multiple in some worlds. There's maybe just one in other worlds. We get kind of like a teaser of what they're going to be in that labyrinth in the Keyblade Graveyard because there's Battlegate 0 there. It's actually named 0. You finish it, you don't unlock anything. You get some decent experience points in there, but you don't actually unlock anything. These other ones that you do, you actually unlock items, you get rewards, and you actually get a secret report for finishing on them. And there's 12 of them. So there's 12 Battlegates, 12 secret reports. These secret reports actually talk about Subject X, who is a character that is referenced in passing throughout Kingdom Hearts and is one of the experimental subjects of Ansem the Wise. So by collecting these secret reports, we learn that Subject X is from the Age of Fairy Tales and was taken from the dungeon of Radiant Garden by a person with an eye patch, who most likely is Lushu or Zigbar. Perhaps this Subject X person is inside of the mysterious black box.
She's the hope inside the chest.
Potentially. Subject X. The other thing that we learn from the secret reports is that one of the dandelions was an imposter, not chosen by the Master of Masters, who allowed the Union leaders to escape into the modern timeline. Perhaps this is Ventus, who we know is the same dandelion Ventus from the Union Cross era. Because again, he was reunited with his Chithari, plus his memory is very hazy prior to the events of Birth by Sleep. When you actually play as him in Birth by Sleep, he can't remember anything before the start of that game. So
that's crazy.
What's inside the black box? Is it this Subject X? Is she the hope? Is this character that they're referencing the hope? And if so, who is it? We're not sure. We have no idea. And I don't even know what to even speculate on who it could potentially be. I would love to be surprised and it be someone totally cool, but I'm not sure.
If it's from the Age of Fairy Tales, is it a Disney character?
Maybe. That's kind of what I was thinking of. So again, the Age of Fairy Tales. Who haven't we seen? that really could be that hope. Because we've already seen the major Disney princesses.
We've seen the major. We've even seen some of the more modern ones. I doubt it would be someone from even more modern than that, because that's something that was planned out ahead of time.
Yeah, it's not going to be like the Princess and the Frog or something. It's not going to be
Moana,
that.
Yeah, it's not gonna be, it has to be someone not brand new, but someone old, someone who we haven't seen. I think we've seen all the old ones.
Yeah, I think we have. I can't think of one that we actually haven't seen from like the 50s, 60s, and 70s era of Disney cartoons. I don't think there is any. So it would have to be someone, I would assume, unique to Kingdom Hearts or unique to this universe, which would be interesting to see. So I guess the big question that is left to speculate on then is the next game literally Kingdom Hearts 4? Is it a side story, Kingdom Hearts Verum Rex? But I will say, I think we have to assume that this video, like the videos we're seeing after the credits, are referencing the next mainline game.
It has to be.
Because the secret movie after Kingdom Hearts 1 referenced Kingdom Hearts 2. The secret movie after Kingdom Hearts 2 referenced Kingdom Hearts 3. Even though we got a plethora of other games between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3, the secret movie after 2 referenced the events that we saw in Kingdom Hearts 3. So we have to assume that these movies are referencing what's going to happen next in the next mainline game. We may see another side entry or two released before Kingdom Hearts 4.
I don't mind a side entry, but these better be side entries that are happening after, because I don't want them to just retcon things in between.
Well, we have an episode of our Flavor Text show coming up on our YouTube channel that we put up every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, where I talked about a side story. And again, you can hear that this Thursday. But I talked about a side game featuring the original 7 princesses and the original 7 lights. They could easily do something with that after what we just saw at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3 now. I can actually see how that would make sense.
Okay.
So now they have to have these original 7 to come back and
go to the way back.
Yeah, go to the way back and really just do something with the original 7 to maybe bridge the gap on how we get from the ending of Kingdom Hearts 3 to, if it is the actual real world, maybe they have to use their powers one more time to do something. You know what I mean? So I could definitely see that. And maybe this side game, because Sora is lost and clearly Riku is in this world, maybe that's the game we play as Yuzora as the main character. Or maybe that's the game where we play as Kairi as the main character because she's trying to now find Sora.
I'd be down for that as well.
Yeah. So, or even Axel or Roxas or, you know, any of the main characters I'd be okay with. I mean, clearly they're not going to stick us in the shoes of Donald or Goofy. Those aren't the main characters. But any of the other characters that we've seen, I would be okay with that being the protagonist of a side story before we get to Kingdom Hearts 4. But I think it has to be Kingdom Hearts 4. I think it does. Yeah, I think Verum Rex, it is definitely not a spin-off game. It's definitely not its own thing. I think it is going to exist within Kingdom Hearts as a world, as a universe. So this is going to be a Kingdom Hearts game. And I don't think it'll even be subtitled. I don't think it'll be Kingdom Hearts 4 : Verum Rex. I don't think it'll be Kingdom Hearts drop the 4 Verum Rex. I don't think it's going to be something like that. Please, for the love of God, don't name this game Kingdom Hearts drop the 4 Verum Rex.
Kingdom Hearts 645 over 9, drop the Verum Rex, HD Remix 2.9. You're welcome.
After I said that, I actually thought, wait a second, that actually could be a title of a Kingdom Hearts game.
They do these things, yes.
Kingdom Hearts drop the 4 : Verum Rex. Even with the colon as an actual word, not even just as the ... I'm glad we finished it. I'm glad we actually were able to. There's still a lot of questions that are unanswered. I mean, seeing the end, I'm so happy. You and I talked about this the past 2 weeks on the Max Level podcast. You and I both were hoping that we would see a lot of things tied up at the end of Kingdom Hearts 3, and they were. Pretty much every major plot point or loose thread was tied up in some way. We are clearly moving on to another trilogy or another entry. I mean, what we've seen between Kingdom Hearts 1 and Kingdom Hearts 3, all the games in between, I feel like that narrative is done. I feel like whatever comes next, and I actually mentioned this coming up on that Flavor Text episode on Thursday, so a little bit of a spoiler for that. I think when we're playing in Kingdom Hearts 4, we're not going to be alongside Donald. We're not going to be alongside Goofy. Their story's done. King Mickey's story is done. Some of these characters are now done. So that chapter is closed on the book, and we're definitely moving on to something different, I feel.
All right.
I hope. I want to see something cool.
Maybe we'll have a couple Final Fantasy guys following us around.
And I kind of thought about that too. So
like VV instead of
yeah, something different. So we would need like a magic user. We would need, more like a tank. Goofy was the tank, so to speak. He had high defense and he was still able to fight, but he took the hits for you sometimes. And then you'd have, your main characters. So maybe we have Sora. Maybe your team is Sora, Yozora, and Riku. Maybe it's Sora, Yozora, and somebody else. I do think Yozora is going to play a big part, clearly, in the actual next game. But I did see one interesting theory that I want to mention before we get out of here and before we wrap the spoiler cast up. A lot of people think that Yozora might actually be the Master of Masters. It might be the villain because of his different colored eyes.
I guess we're going to have to wait to find out. That's a very good theory that I'm going to have to read up on.
Yeah, because Yozora was just, again, when we talked about this during the video, but he was sitting on the rooftop and he was just watching. He was watching Riku. and we didn't really see what he looked like. But then we go back to the rooftop and we have a hooded character. So he could have got up and put the hood on.
It could have been a fake out. Okay.
Yeah, he could have got up and put the hood on. So it could have been a fake out. Exactly. So Yozora.
That or it's Sigmar.
Maybe. But what I think is interesting, what if we go through the entirety, we are playing as Sora again, still, because let's be honest, Sora is Kingdom Hearts, and it's really kind of hard to envision Kingdom Hearts moving on without Sora as the main character. Yes, we've seen, Kingdom Hearts 2, we played as Roxas, and we've seen games where we don't play as Sora, but Sora's still in the story. So if we're not playing as Sora in Kingdom Hearts 4, Sora's still going to be there. But what if we're playing as Yozora, or we are playing as Sora and Yozora is a party member, but really he is the master of masters. He is the big bad the entire time, just kind of like just keeping an eye on you and watching what you're doing. It is definitely possible. I
can't wait. Unfortunately, the way these games come out, I'm going to have to.
It'll probably be somewhere in the 2030s where we see Kingdom Hearts 4 if we have, in modern guesses to go off of. We are at least looking at 10 years, at least, probably. So we're looking at least 2029. This will be a late PlayStation 5. My God, no.
No,
this will be a PlayStation
6.
Yeah. No, it won't be 7. But if the PS5 and the Xbox Scarlet come out in 2020, if we stick to the 7-year cycle, this game, it can't take 10 years. They cannot take 10 years on this game. They can't skip a generation. They've already skipped a generation. They skipped the PS3 and the 360. They can't do it again.
They will. It's going to suck.
They might.
We're only getting even number generation Kingdom Hearts games, so there you go.
If we get a spin-off title, is it released on the Switch and not the PS5 and Scarlet? Because
it'll be on everything.
Well, if it's a smaller scale title and they go with a much more
much like they did with the 3DS too.
Yeah, like a mobile thing. Yeah, so they might put these spin-off games on the Switch. But what I will say, any news that actually happens related to Kingdom Hearts, we will definitely be covering here at Level Down Games. It'll be on our podcast. Again, that's the Max Level podcast every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Pacific. You can find it on your favorite podcast app of choice. We do not put the entire episodes up on our YouTube channel, but they are on podcast services. So subscribe to that podcast. Again, subscribe to our BG Mania Video Game Music podcast, and just subscribe to us in general on YouTube. You'll never miss any of our uploads. We love doing these things. I kind of want to start doing more Spoilercast in the future because I like doing this type of stuff, but really it's only going to be things that you and I play together and that are big. Kingdom Hearts 3 is big. So we probably, we're not going to do a Spoilercast on Devil May Cry 5, even though that's a big game and it's something you and I are going to play and we're excited for. We're not going to do a Spoilercast on that. We're not. We want to thank you for sticking with us and listening to this Spoilercast on Kingdom Hearts 3, made possible by LevelDownGames.com. And thanks again to Dance with the Dead for all the awesome music. Regardless of the podcast service or whatever service you're listening through, make sure you leave us a rating and a review. If you're listening on the Max Level Podcast feed, leave us a rating and a review on Apple Podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, click that like button, turn notifications on, subscribe to us, and drop us a comment down below. Frank and I want to know what you think about the ending to Kingdom Hearts 3. It's a spoiler cast. If someone comes in here and they are spoiled, it's their fault. They should have known. So you can put spoilers in the comments. Yeah, you can put spoilers in the comments. Let us know what you think is going to take place in the next Kingdom Hearts game. Let us know what you thought of the ending. Let us know if maybe we missed something. Maybe something completely went over our heads and we didn't even pick up on something and that you did.
Happens all the time.
It definitely does happen all the time. Let us know. We want to interact with you more often. So yeah, please do. Stalking us on social media is perfectly acceptable. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook will be the place to do so. Check the description box for the appropriate links.
And everyone, may your heart be your guiding key.